Okay, shall we ditz it out a little bit? Shall we? Just a little bit, okay? The other day I caught a video on Raymond Thoughts and Minds about a girl. He was covering a story about, oh no, did I touch it? And it went funny. He was covering a story about a girl who was 35 years old and she was still going clubbing. And the comments were just full of guys who were just ripping this girl apart. Every now and again, there were a few comments with people saying, I still go clubbing. And it just makes me smile because if I didn't have the responsibilities that I did, and if I was in Tokyo still, I would still be going out to see really good DJ sets. That would be, that would, there would be no question about that, my friends. The purpose is to see a good DJ play a good set. It's art, it's an art form. Talking about good DJs and art forms, I have to play you this the best track off of the Dusseldorf set he was in. He was in Germany last week. I haven't been to Germany for a while. I have a strong connection to Germany. I really love Germany. I haven't been for a while. And most recently, I've been really disturbed by the way their leadership, this Merz guy, the way they think. It's really troubling. So it's sort of made me reluctant to go. But I do love Germany and the people. And it's high time I paid a visit. So let me play this track because it's so beautiful. And I will drink my green tea and I will think about what we're going to talk about today. There's no plan. There's no plan at all. Okay. Cause I just want to breathe again, breathe again. I don't know how I should I find open just to see the light. I don't want to tell me, baby, how I can break your heart. I wanna be free again, free again. Don't let me forget that you were holding myself back, but I kept on creeping under your skin, lining up just to feel the power, moving sour. I just want you to let me in, let me in. Take me into your loving arms, 'cause I just want to breathe again, breathe again. I don't know how I should start. Can you let me see again, see again? Eyes wide open just to see the light. But I don't want to feel the pain, feel the pain. Show me, baby, how I can break apart. I wanna be free again, free again. Perfect. There's a track before it, which is, I wouldn't say is the type of drum bass I would listen to usually, but he's so talented. The way he just brings different types of drum bass together, and he makes me really appreciate other forms of drum bass that I normally wouldn't listen to. That's talent. That's talent. That's art. That's art, and that's the reason to go out and listen to good DJs at clubs. I think men can be quite funny in that they can sit and play video games all day. I'm assuming a lot of these guys probably sit and play video games, or I don't know, watch sports. They're passionate about sports perhaps. But they get really weird about women having their own passions and interests and hobbies. I do think there's a lot of pressure on men. Like I say, whenever I go out first thing in the morning, I'm just incredulous at how everything is done by men. It's all men working. It's all men driving these lorries and taking goods from one place to the next. It's all men working on the roads at that unusual time in the day. And I think I'd been recommended that channel of that Japanese guy who's a salaryman. A salaryman basically means an office worker in Japan. And he was in my feed the other day, so I just checked his video again, even though I find him really depressing to watch. Not depressing in a bad way. He's clearly an artist in the way he does his videos on YouTube. If I can find it, I'll link it for you. He's clearly an artist in that regard. I find it depressing, as in, I just want to give him a hug. He works a really horrible sales job from morning till night, and people just are really mean to him over the phone. He wakes up at a horrible time. He has to travel an hour and a half or 2 hours even to get to the office because he lives in the suburbs of Tokyo, because it's more cost effective for him. Then, after his first job finishes, he goes and does an evening job delivering food. He gets home, goes to bed, has about 4 hours sleep, and then he has to start this all over again. 4 hours sleep. It's impossible. It's impossible. And he has maybe, I don't know, 500 yen to buy soba for lunch every day. Brutal. And so a guy like him seeing a girl going out clubbing and having fun, I completely understand it. I do. I really do. But we all have different sacrifices that we make. We all sacrifice in different ways. And I don't think it's a competition like my life's harder than yours, or why do you get to have a better life than me? We should always striving to have a better life. And I suppose I don't understand this mean-spirited vibe of men who don't like women going traveling, or don't like women who go to clubs. Well, men have different hobbies like cars, sports, only Fs potentially. I don't know. They have different things that they like to do. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other or one is worse than the other. But this channel really depresses me because I think sometimes I do romanticize Japan. Maybe because my life in Japan was, apart from all the struggles that are normal for someone who's living in a foreign country, in some ways it was a very romantic time for me. I worked hard and I played hard, and life was so easy because, in some senses, because I didn't have to deal with really rubbish customer service, which is what I have to deal with in the UK and drives me absolutely mad. The Japanese and customer service, it's like it's a sort of euphoria. You'll never have to deal with poor customer service. So what I was dealing with at the beginning of this year, and I'm still, one company is still outstanding, I would never have had to deal with that in Japan. I couldn't even tell you one instance where I had any kind of difficulty in that way in Japan. I just couldn't, not even once. But it was a romantic time for me, and not in just in terms of dating and relationships and things like that. It was romantic because my life was so exciting and fun. There were difficulties in other ways, trying to get around the language barrier. Sometimes there was bureaucracy, but I'd rather take that type of bureaucracy than deal with people who are not smart and in these positions of customer service. I'd take that any day of the week. What other challenges were there? Mostly the language barrier, I guess, and not feeling I was completely understood sometimes. You know, you have to adapt to the culture. But in every other way, it was a sort of euphoria for me. But there were moments where I would just be like, I cannot live here long term. They will destroy me. And moments like that, where when I would be on the tube, standing on the platform at rush hour, watching these people just mash themselves against each other, their bodies just pressed. No one's body should be pressed against the complete strangers in that way, no matter how hot the guy might be. It was just, I just stand and just, eventually I just decided to go to work via walking during rush hour. I was like, I'm not doing this. And there were female carriages, so it would have been easy for me to actually jump on those female carriages, because you got men being a little bit handsy, let's just say. I never experienced that, lucky for me. I don't know if I should be offended that I never experienced it or not, but no, I never experienced it. No, don't be silly. You were very lucky that you didn't experience that. But that's one example. Another example is that in this recent video of his, there's this, I think, I'm not sure, but there's a shot of him at a station and it looks like Shinagawa Station. And I think this is the right station that I'm thinking of. Shinagawa Station is the station that you go to. There's Shinkansen goes to Shinagawa Station, it stops off there. And I think it's also the station that you get off at to go and get your visa sorted at the visa office. You have to get a bus from Shinagawa Station to the visa office. And this station is probably one of the most depressing stations I've ever visited in Tokyo. Everyone is like a robot walking in single file. And for some reason, everyone's dressed in dark colors. It's not the part of Tokyo where all the creators hang out. So everyone's in dark colors. Everyone looks tired. Everyone looks miserable. Everyone's an office clone. And every time I had to go through this station, my heart would constrict. And I would think, I cannot live in a culture where this is normal, or this is what people have accustomed themselves to. So there were moments where I would have epiphanies like, come on, you've got to get out of here. But in a sense, I could isolate myself as well, because I had these creative interests. So I could be around creatives in my downtime. And because I was a foreigner, I didn't live a severe life like Japanese people have to. It's just different. As a foreigner, you get away with a lot more. Having said that, unless you speak perfect Japanese, you're not going to be able to, get the top jobs or have the best salaries. So you're compromising in that way. And that's why I said to you in the last video that I sort of limited myself, or Japan limited me. Had I left earlier, I think my life would be very different now. So those are my mistakes to bear. That's my responsibility. And that's why it's good to watch content creators like this guy, because it reminds you of what certain aspects of Japan were like. So I don't want to, in my last video also I said everyone should spend at least 1 year in Japan. And then I remembered my Persian friend, or acquaintance rather, in London, and he's traveled extensively, and he'd spent a good chunk of time in Tokyo and Japan, and he hated it. He absolutely hated Japan. I also remember my best friend coming out to see me in Japan. He absolutely hated Japan. He just didn't fall in love with it at all. I don't know if I can say, hey, he didn't understand how I was so enamored with Japan. Whereas my other friend who came out, I've mentioned him, C, he loved Tokyo. So it just depends on the person, I think. Who was the other person that, oh, I worked with a couple of guys actually, foreigner guys, who just hated Japan. One of them was there because he just didn't know what to do back in the UK, or he didn't know what, he was just kind of taking time out, I suppose. The other guy was married to a Japanese woman, so he was sort of stuck there, but he was desperate to get out. So I don't want you to listen to me too carefully. I want you to listen to me to some extent. Some things are just universal, like you have to exercise. You have to try and keep a positive mind. You have to push yourself. Those are universal themes. But other things like, oh, I love going clubbing, and you know, I don't want to romanticize these things, or or you should spend 1 year in Japan. No, you don't have to spend 1 year in Japan. You just, at the most, you just need to know about the world so that you are not part of the problem, like what we're having at the moment with illegal, inhumane, criminal wars and genocidal acts. So if you have knowledge about the world, you would be able to not be part of the problem, I guess. But otherwise, please don't listen to me too heavily. Live your life. That's why I say, did I mention the Raymond Thoughts and Minds video in the comments underneath? People are so judgy about this girl going clubbing. Like, let her live her life. Unless she's doing something illegal, unless she's doing something dangerous, let her live her life. Everyone will outgrow clubbing at some stage. I won't give up my sleep for clubbing at this stage in my life. However, if the event was a daytime event, that's why these drum and bass events are so perfect. It's a daytime event. I do most anything for music. And if my toe was okay, I would be going to Southampton tomorrow. So yeah, I think that that program just depresses me. But then I'd mentioned this British guy who's a native Japanese speaker, and he interviews people on the streets of Japan. I don't know that he's in Tokyo. The accent doesn't feel like Tokyo, but I could be wrong. But then I listen to these people and I just think they think in such a different way. They're so measured in their approach and the way they think. Some of them are very intelligent, others are just, they don't really want to discuss their opinions, or they don't have a lot to discuss. But he tends to interview people who do want to talk and do have interesting things to say. So, yeah, long story short, just live your life in the best way that you can, whilst always being mindful that you are accountable to yourself at the end of the day. To round this off, because I really should go, I've been trying to record this video a couple of times, but the light is so bad. I don't know, it keeps going in and out. I don't know what's wrong with this phone. I will get a new phone, you guys. Just give me a little bit of time. So I'm a little bit tired now. But did you see that clip of the orange faced guy throwing his sidekick, Batman and Robin? Am I elevating them a bit too much? Throwing him under the bus, and his face as he's realizing in slow motion that he's been now thrown under the bus. This guy is now placing the blame on him, and if the world worked in the way it should, he would be done for war crimes like the orange-faced guy at The Hague. And you look at this man and you think I think he's got 6 children. He's got 6 children. He was an ex-alcoholic, which I don't judge. Everyone has some kind of addiction. I think it's an illness. I don't judge people who have that type of addiction or illness. I mean, these 2 weeks of me trying to give up this extra banana were kind of hell for me. It's not been fun at all. So it's a sickness, and I don't judge that. But he has had a lot to prove to himself, probably to his family and to the world, because he's been labeled as the TV anchor alcoholic. And he's needed to show himself to be this big, brave, courageous guy. Someone, I guess he wants to be respected. But he's made the most foolish and stupid decisions. Never, ever, ever let yourself be put in a position where you're doing something wrong and the blame will always be assigned to you. Look at people like, is it Kent, who stood up and said, no, they don't want to be part of this. This is a serious crime against humanity. Imagine now, forevermore, your children looking at you and your children knowing that you are someone who has caused the death of children, young men, civilian life and humanity, and you've done it on purpose. It's not even been accidental. You've actually done it on purpose. That's who he represents. That's who he is. And I have no sympathy for it whatsoever. Yeah, I have no sympathy for it. He has people around him who could have stopped him. What is the purpose of having family, friends, if they don't correct you in your bad behavior? I read the most depressing article just this morning, or maybe it was last night. I think it was last night, just before I was about to go to bed, potentially. It was about how this orange-faced guy has a war room, and he gets off on watching civilians, hospitals, infrastructure, necessary infrastructure. He gets off on just watching this being blown up. The people around him, no one's saying to him, stop. These people are all war criminals. They're all part of the problem. Apparently, he's fired all the people who were smart and would have put a stop to this. So all these people in Congress, all these people in media, that British lady, Sheila Fogarty, whatever her name is, she's complicit in war crimes. Watched the interview with her, Professor Morandi, and I can't believe the stuff that these people come out with. Do you want to be complicit in wrongdoing? If you do, that's on you. But you have to be smart. You have to be smart. Don't let anyone pull you into a direction where you look at those guys in the occupied territory who were genociding the natives of that land. They ended up killing themselves. Why? They can't live with what they've done.